There really is no team like the Cleveland Browns. I mean, we're entering Week 18, the last week of the season, and yet it's a reality show, or a clown show, if you will, with the latest on Jadeveon Clowney. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, kind of recapping and navigating through the Clowney saga that dropped yesterday right after our live show ended, which was kind of a bummer because we talked about Clowney on it. But it all started from this, right? Mary Kay wrote an article with an interview with Clowney where Clowney tells Cleveland.com, 95% sure I won't be back. I need to be around somebody that believes in me. Why he decided to say this before the last week of the season is beyond me. Like, if he wants to have those thoughts, by all means. And maybe he's right, too. Maybe he feels that whoever that person is, Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, I don't know, Chris Kiffin, doesn't believe in him. But the idea of dropping that before the last week of the season, probably not a good one, right? That was probably a dumb idea, let's be honest, because we have this now from today. Jadeveon Clowney sent home by the Browns on Friday in wake of interview with Cleveland.com and won't practice today. Status for Sunday versus Steelers uncertain. I'm going to say right now, Clowney's not playing, right? There's no way Clowney puts out, I wouldn't say necessarily a hit piece, but kind of a hit piece on his head coach and the team goes, all right, you're still starting on Sunday, by the way. So, no, that's the end of Clowney in Cleveland. And it was short-lived. It was only 2 years, and he had some injuries and some bumps along the road. But we've got some interesting quotes from this article with Mary Kay to unpack. Let's start with this one. 95% sure I won't be back, but there's still that 5%. You never know what can happen. So, hey, there's a 5% chance that Clowney comes back, you say? I wonder what that 5% chance hinges on. Clowney answered it for us. There's supposed to be a lot of changes around here next year, so they might not be back, and I might. I wonder who Clowney is talking about, right? There's supposed to be a lot of changes. Clowney's basically saying, we all know what's coming. Joe Woods and this entire defensive staff are going to get gutted, and maybe the new DC might come in and go, yeah, they misused you last year. You're right, Jadeveon. Let's bring you back for cheap and have you run it back like it was in 2021 when you put up 9 sacks and Garrett put up a career-high 16 sacks. But what's the bigger problem here? Is it the Browns' leadership? Like, I'll give my take on this in just a minute, but I'm curious what you have to say about it. Curious, what is that? Is it Browns' leadership? Is it Kevin Stefanski not having control of this locker room where players go and run off to the media before the final week of the season and go, I'm not coming back next year because they're not using me correctly? Or is it just Clowney, right? Is it just, hey, Clowney, he's got an attitude issue. He is deflecting blame for a bad season on others. I think you can go one of two ways. I've wrestled with this one a decent amount, but I think it's more of a Clowney problem. I don't think this should be viewed as a major indictment on the leadership. I do think there is a leadership issue, and I have spoken at length about this. But I don't think Clowney, in a down season, when he's 29, pushing 30, about to hit free agency, and looking to create excuses for his bad year, is an actual indictment on this team has no leadership. I do think there is a bit of a leadership problem, but I don't think I don't believe that the takeaway from this is, oh boy, Kevin Stefanski, he has zero control of this locker room. He's got some control problems, but don't overreact to this and say, look what's going on in Berea. There is absolutely no control whatsoever. We have seen issues pop up, and we've seen accountability be held. Happened to Perion Winfrey, happened to Myles Garrett. No one is above the law. And it's happening to Jadeveon Clowney right now. Now, let's go back to this article, though. Mary Kay wrote, the root cause of his unhappiness, which has lingered throughout the season, is that he feels the Browns have removed him from favorable matchups at various points throughout the season and put Myles Garrett on lesser offensive linemen instead to showcase their star defensive end. So you're telling me that the Browns are making favorable matchups for Myles Garrett? No shit, Sherlock. Like, why is that a surprise? That's what you do for superstar players, right? You get them into positions to succeed. I've got more on this, don't get me wrong, because I can kind of see where Clowney is coming from, of he keeps maybe getting shafted or something with some of the grunt work. But hey, that's what superstars get. They get the best opportunities because they make the most of them, right? That's why Clowney's a superstar. When he gets those good matchups, he doesn't miss. If Clowney didn't miss on those, he would be a superstar and be that first overall pick that he was. I've got more to say, but today's Browns Report is sponsored by Fume. Be smart, don't start, kick the habit, and put it out before it puts you out. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. Fume is not a vape. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. Instead of pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals like a vape, Fume uses cores infused with plants like peppermint and cinnamon for delicious natural fingers. Fume's new version 2 model is snappy and tactile. With an adjustable airflow dial and a magnetic end cap, your fingers will always have something to do. It's Fume's goal to make switching easy and even enjoyable. They have thousands of 5-star reviews from people just like you who've successfully switched when other solutions just didn't work. Head to tryfume.com/chatsports and use code chatsports to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors and the new version 2 Fume to help kickstart your positive habits. That's tryfum.com/chatsports and use code chatsports to save an additional 10% off your order today. Now, I've put that link for everyone in the comments and the description of today's show. Like I said earlier, though, to me it sounds like Clowney is making excuses for what's been a down season, and the injury's real, and I'm sure there's a little bit of truth to maybe himself not getting put in the best situations. I remember he said, or Mary Kay wrote in the article, that they had a whole game plan before the Ravens week, and then when the game came around, they switched some things up. And he's like, what the heck are we doing here? I'm old. I'm not doing new stuff. This is what I do. Don't try and spring things onto me like I'm a rookie. But Clowney's going to be a free agent this year, and I think 2021 sort of saved his career a little bit, right? He got $10 million in free agency after a 9-sack season. If Clowney had a bad year last year, that would have been 3 straight bad years with Seattle, brief stint in Tennessee where he also sort of put some blame on the others on his way out the door, and then Cleveland. We're talking about a guy who might not even really be in the league right now. Maybe he would have gotten a cheap deal. We saw Houston go to the Ravens like that, and Carlos Dunlap, but he definitely wouldn't have gotten $10 million last year if not for having a good year with the Browns. So we're going to get to more on this in just a second, but it is Steelers Hate Week here at the channel. Clowney's Clown Show is not going to deter us from saying F Pitt in the comments. And hey, if you hate the Pittsburgh Steelers, hit that big red button and subscribe. We're doing a challenge with our Steelers channel here at Chat Sports, and the loser of this sub race the winner gets to smack the loser in a face with a tortilla. Now, I think our Steelers host has a bit of a slapping fetish. That was his idea. I think it's kind of weird, but I don't want to get slapped. So help me out. Let me slap a Steelers fan. Hit that big red button and subscribe. More from the article, though. You're all trying to get somebody into the Hall of Fame when all that matters is winning. Everybody got here for a reason, and we can all make plays. I know I am. So what Clowney is getting at here is they are boosting Myles Garrett to get him in prime situations to pad his Hall of Fame resume and not do what's maybe best to actually win games. Cry me a freaking river here. This staff, you're telling me, would rather boost Myles Garrett's numbers at the price of a worse defense, and thus they get fired. I'm calling cap, right? What mission do you think the staff is on where they will literally lose their own jobs just to make Myles Garrett look better? No, they want the defense to play well so that they can have a job next year. And so I'm not going to believe this idea of they would purposefully have a worse defense just so Myles Garrett looks a bit better. Now, Clowney also said, and I quote, "I could still end up in the division next year." Maybe he wants some vengeance. I could see that. That happens in the NFL. If he is going to stay in the division next year, I could see kind of all three other teams being interested. The Ravens would make the most sense. I remember there was some buzz between Clowney and the Ravens last year. Plus, the Ravens, they just got a hard-on for bringing on like 35-year-old washed-up defensive ends, and somehow, like Houston this year, getting them to 9 to 10 sacks on the year. My overall takeaways from the Clowney Clown Show is this. Clowney is boosting his own image after a down year so that GMs and around the league will go, "Oh yeah, Clowney only had 2 sacks this year," but it sounds like it wasn't all his fault. It sounds like it was more on the Browns personnel and the Browns coaching staff for not getting him into good spots and instead holding him back so Myles Garrett would boost his own numbers. I don't buy that. But I also do think this is a bit of a hit on Stefanski's locker room control. I don't think you should be looking to make this into something bigger than it is, where it's another example of Kevin Stefanski having zero control. I definitely have my concerns, don't get me wrong, and I have verbalized that before. But I don't think this exact situation and example is the one you want to run with and say, "See, I told you all, Stefanski has no control of this locker room." I don't think this is the time to make that stance. There's been plenty to do that before, like OBJ last year and different reoccurrences or different pop-up situations. This is not the one where I'm going to die on the hill of, this is my thesis statement, Stefanski has no control of the locker room. Before we go here, 2 quick things. First thing is just looking ahead right now, last week of the season. So already thinking of the offseason, and it's pretty clear Clowney is probably not coming back next year. So who are the 2023 defensive ends going to be? Myles Garrett, I think Isaiah Thomas, and Alex Wright. A draft pick, and probably, well, definitely a free agent. I just don't think it'll be a very expensive one, right? I don't think it's going to be a Unique Ngakoue. I don't think it's going to be one of the 3 highest paid defensive ends from this free agency pool. I think Andrew Berry might go, let's do Alex Wright, draft pick, and a free agent as a bit of a rotation, which they have done the last couple of weeks. Like Chase Winovich, I believe, outsnapped Jadeveon Clowney on Sunday. So I'm expecting more of Garrett plus committee for the opposite defensive end spot. I appreciate everyone for clicking on to today's show. If you enjoyed the content you just watched, hit me up on Twitter. I'm always talking Brownies at Matthew PD.